Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for Kirby's part 3. I get to, also be willing to participate in James as well, as far as the JWs and interesting things that you may not have known or know. In particular, again, even different from the region that I grew up in into this particular religion along with.
Yeah. So, one of the other things that I thought was very strange growing up, and I didn't feel like that was that big of a deal, was saying bless you after someone sneezing.
Yeah, that is definitely it's an interesting situation. And this is something I told her as well. I do with my family. Around my mother and father, or stepfather that was obviously in the congregation or witnesses, I always was correct with it. But with my family, it was just so habitual. It's something you hear so much, it's hard not to say it. I would say it. And people don't, even the people that don't celebrate the religion, they don't, if you notice, no one really cares. You just say it out of being accustomed to saying it. I'd rather you give me some tissue or tell me like, hey,
Yeah, when you're accustomed to hearing people say it all the time, I guess you can pick it up. But that's like saying, I picked up the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag,
yeah. I know some of the words, but I can't really say that I know the words like that. I would have to say the whole thing. But it wasn't second nature for me to say, oh, bless you, every time someone sneezes.
She was better than me, y'all. I'm just gonna say she was a lot better than me. I'm just gonna say, for myself, I will easily admit I was doing that with family. I was hearing it so much.
There were just so many times that I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say anything. I would neglect the fact or not even take notice that someone even sneezed because of the simple fact that.
I remember you were telling me people would think they would be
it was
offended
rude.
almost.
They would be like, oh, she rude. Like,
craziness.
I just sneezed like 4 times and you even say bless you. And I would be like, oh, do you need a tissue?
That is hilarious to me.
Now, when someone said bless you to me, I would just say thank you.
Right.
But, I wouldn't say bless you if someone sneezed. I would just kind of be like, oh, do you need a tissue? Or I wouldn't say anything at all. Just keep it moving with whatever I was doing.
I mean, it makes sense. I think it's fair to acknowledge it if someone tells you, regardless if you in a religion or not. I mean, that's kind of like the nice thing to do. It's kind of something that you should do as a human being. Because they don't know. A lot of people don't. We're ignorant about a lot of different things that we say on a normal basis.
Yeah. Okay, so the second point that I wanted to mention was Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote.
Right. Oh my God. That's a big one.
And that's because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that the only person that should be in power would be our grand creator.
Absolutely.
Or the one that has been put in that position, which will be Jesus Christ, because he is King of Kings. So that's why we don't vote. We don't believe, Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe that a man can rule over a man.
Right.
Because he's just as imperfect as the next man. So, male or female.
Right.
Okay, so I know a lot of people were disappointed that Hillary Clinton didn't become president. Doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
She's still like imperfect flesh.
It really doesn't.
The only person, that can rule over us would be Jesus Christ or God himself. So that's why Jehovah's Witnesses don't register to vote. In other countries, as a matter of fact, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're in another country, it's like required for you to be a part of the military or required for you to do some type of political some along military.
Like a draft or something like
that.
Yeah. Right.
And you have to do that. There's Jehovah's Witnesses that I know have served time in prison.
I believe it.
Because of the simple fact that they refuse to be a part of the military.
Let's not get it twisted. Muhammad Ali did the same thing for Muslim faith. So, this is one of those things where I think a person that's strong about their faith, that believes in the philosophy of they're willing, if you're willing to really go through it for your faith, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what that speaks on volumes of yourself and then also to others. But indirectly to that, I was thinking as well, don't get it twisted as well. Witnesses still go by Bible scripture or stating of respecting man's law, We just don't take it further.
Oh yeah, like
As
the
far as-
verse in the Bible that talks about pay Caesar's things to Caesar.
Right.
So we still pay taxes and things like that.
Absolutely.
And we
Even though
still
may not
abide
vote
by
for
the
you,
laws of the land, but then when it's directly going against our faith, such as
Absolutely.
joining the military of whatever place that you're living in, then that's like going directly against our faith. So then therefore a witness would not do that. So they would take jail time or go through whatever hoops and loops that they have to go through to not, go against their faith. Yeah. So and that also goes where not being a police officer. Witnesses are not supposed to be police officers. You can be a firefighter.
I didn't think about that. Yeah,
you can be a firefighter, but not a police officer. Not any
Can't be told no heat.
Yeah, you can't be trying to run for some type of political status.
Right. Can't be a security guard. You can't hold no gun. You can't have no firearm as a witness. You can't.
Yeah, if you're over here talking about your Jehovah's Witness and you have a gun outside of hunting, because then there's if you're a hunter, then that's different. Right. But if you have a gun to have in your home to shoot, to be like, oh, I'm trying to protect my family or whatever, and it's not used for hunting specifically, then it's like, no, you don't do that. Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Protect your family.
I'm sure there's plenty of witnesses that do have guns in their homes that they don't go actively hunting with.
Let's keep it 1,000.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the next one is going into vices. So like cigarettes, alcohol, gambling, and then not just vices, but tattoos and piercings. Okay, so let's start with piercings. I have piercings. I have a lot of piercings. You just can't see all these piercings. But tongue piercings, no.
Absolutely not. You just asking for trouble.
I have a bunch of piercings in my ear. Okay, so I have like this little earlobe piercing right here. Okay, that's eccentric. That's like walking the line in Jehovah's Witness world.
I still think that's interesting. That's actually not that bad. That's pretty.
This is a worldly piercing. That's worldly. That's being a part of the world.
It doesn't look that bad to me.
And I got this. I had this when I was getting dipped. When I got baptized.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
Now, so I had it, but it's not something you can get in trouble or disfellowship for. It's just not like. Now, if I said, "Oh, sister so and so, I'm thinking about going to get my, this little part of my lobe pierced," they'd be like, "Oh, you probably shouldn't do that." I would probably be convinced not to do it because I could be viewed as part of the world. Okay. So
that's fair.
And then these piercings, like I have the first lobe, then I got it up the second and the third. Okay. Right. Then I used to have it up here on both sides, those closed, but I got all these three on each ear, and then I have this one on this side. Okay. Then I have a few other piercings. I don't have a tongue ring or anything like that, but anything that's visible with like no eyebrow piercing or anything like that would be viewed as something about the world. A lip piercing, I really wanted a lip piercing, and that would be viewed as something to be part of. But even like in the world when you're trying to get some type of professional job, you wouldn't be able to. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to really, unless you're in some eccentric type of line of work. You wouldn't. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so then tattoos. So tattoos would be a thing where, now, say you start off worldly and then you came into the truth, okay? This goes for piercings or tattoos. You can take piercings out. Tattoos is a little bit more difficult to get rid of. However, if your tattoos can be hidden in some type of way, then you can still gain some type of status depending on the need in the congregation, because they'll overlook somebody who is looking to become a ministerial servant or an elder.
Well, you made me realize I could still, if in that situation like we were talking about last time, like you could still go forth to actually get baptized in the situation if you came in versus,
Yeah, you can definitely still get baptized.
But like you said, as far as an actual roll-up, I don't really remember my congregation downplaying people, but I do remember them choosing others prior.
Yeah.
Before going to that person. So
exactly.
Which I don't consider that extreme, but it is still intriguing. you know, that it's a thought. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that person with tattoos could actually be a better speaker.
Now, when I really like tattoos, I have a problem with commitment and permanent things. However, I do like tattoos because I'm very artistic. So me seeing people with tattoos and me not personally having them, I'm like, okay, I do like the tattoo thing. But what I found out is that the tattoos, when it talks about, like it's in Ecclesiastes about how we shouldn't get tattoos. And I can't remember exactly what it says, but it does say, you know, don't get tattoos. But that was in reference to getting tattoos when it was like worshiping your ancestors. So that was more like getting the person's face or their name. And back in the day, or like in ancient times, people would get tattoos of their ancestors and as a form of worship or praising them.
Good point. I like that.
Not, you know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, I like music, or yeah, I like arts and crafts. Like if I used to be a painter. So if I had like a paint palette right here and a paintbrush or something like that, and it was a tattoo, then it's not like I'm worshiping some ancestor, or I'm not even worshiping art or the fact that I'm artistic.
She blew my mind on this because I'm like, the way I was raised about it, it was tattoos and drip. Now, thankfully, Northwest Congregation, Washington, D.C., along with my mother. When I came back to D.C., I had got, I believe, this boombox. Like, this is like really right as I was kind of leaving the organization. My mother was, she was wishy-washy about it, but I still went to the meetings with her. I didn't have anybody talk crazy. Of course, obviously, I had my dress shirt on and everything else. But when it got hot, just like it is for me now, I would roll up my sleeves and not think twice about it. And no one actually like pulled me to the side, but I did not have a role.
You didn't have a role. You were also viewed as an active, and you're definitely not baptized.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So it's like,
Facts.
you're a worldly person,
Facts.
so we understand worldly people. You get a pass. You didn't know any better. So that's, and literally we have that mindset. You're worldly, you didn't know any better. And some people even take it to the point like, you're beneath us. Because witnesses have this air about themselves of, like, we're spiritually more well off than you.
Right.
That's exactly, and I did have that type of mentality. I did a little bit. Now, I took a little bit more pity in not in a bad way. Like,
I was just gonna say, I don't think you were snobbish about it.
No, I definitely wasn't snobbish.
Yeah,
not, and maybe in some instances I was. I remember this email. No. One time I'll talk about that. Maybe that's a different. That's a different video. Maybe
some more entertainment.
Yeah, that's a different video.
Absolutely.
But
Facts.
Okay, so gambling. Definitely no gambling. No scratching off lottery tickets.
Absolutely
no
not.
Playing the Powerball.
No
going to the casinos.
No poker. No.
Yeah, no.
None of that.
Yeah, no.
None of that.
No, not even bets. Not even, I bet you $5 if so and so does this.
Not.
You know what I'm saying?
I think the only
no betting on games.
The only time I had a situation where my stepfather and mother was playing a card game with me. We actually were playing poker with fake money.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, or they would do stuff like that as a kid because I'm from North Carolina. So coming from the country, I got some gambling, bleeping family where it's just ridiculous. Like, we gambling over spades, dice, like you said, $5 race, and none of that. Can't do none of that. Which I do think is intriguing when it's not an actual game. If it's something casual, like, I bet you I can beat you to the flagpole. But to your point, you're right. Not even that is really
even something like, like I said, if a brother heard,
right?
Okay, or when I say a brother with status, like a ministerial servant or an elder or a circuit overseer, heard that we were actively saying, I bet you I can beat you to the, to this tree, to that tree.
Oh, it's a problem.
And you know what I mean?
It's a problem.
I remember there was this one brother talking about, if you're playing, laser tag. At an assembly, if you are playing laser tag as an event where a bunch of brothers and sisters get together and you gotta go play laser tag, no.
For real?
No.
Now that's it.
No, you do not do laser tag.
We did.
Paintballing, none of that.
That's crazy. She says that. I ain't trying to air them out.
There's a lot of congregations that do that.
Northwest.
I did it. There's so many times at several congregations. Well, several. I went to three main ones.
Man.
And I kind of like a fourth one, but yeah, at the last one that I went to, he was like, and this was this brother. I want to say his name. I want to say his name. This was a very influential brother, and he goes to the prisons and he talks to the prison inmates, and makes them Jehovah's Witnesses and all these different things. He's been no, because he's preaching in prison.
Okay.
Yeah, he's preaching in prison. I don't know how I said that to make you think something else, but...
Well, no, I meant, like, how's he doing that just being so stuck up about this stuff? Because, I mean, when you're dealing with people like that, you gotta have some type of, not necessarily being loose, but just, man, a little bit more down to earth. Because
I remember he got on stage and sat up there and said, your talk was kindergarten.
What?
Because when brothers and sisters get on stage to give a talk, okay, so women get on stage and they give a presentation to give an example of how we present ourselves at the door.
Absolutely.
And then you get counseled. You don't get graded like an A, B, C, or D, or F. Okay, you do get graded, and you see.
He made it sound like you getting graded.
And no, yeah. And he said your talk was kindergarten.
Who does that?
And you get graded in front of everybody.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah. So and it's not like they say, oh, you get an A, you get a D. You know what I'm saying? But he did say like, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. But this, and this needs to be worked on.
But your talk was kindergarten though?
No, he straight out came on stage after she got done and they sat down and he got on. He was like, your talk was kindergarten.
He out here roasting.
Or I remember one time this brother gave a talk and he was like, he said, I could tell that you prepared this talk at the last minute.
Man.
Savage.
What area was
Savage.
This is Georgia.
Yeah, this is Georgia. Yeah. But here's the thing. It was accepted. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, but
I remember that sister, she took it like a G too. Because I remember that sister saying after the meeting and how like after the meeting is over, everybody like gets to talking and associating with each other. She's like, oh, thank goodness she didn't take it too personally.
Right.
Or at least she didn't reflect that. And she was just like, he's right. I could have did better in presenting myself to be this way. But if that was somebody else that really put in time and effort, like I struggle.
That was anyone in DC for that matter. I don't care if it was to struggle or not.
I struggled with preparing talks. And if he would have said, oh, your talk was kindergarten, I would have got irritated by that because it's like I already had difficulty preparing talks in general.
Whenever I had something that they wanted me to work on when it came down to, and like she said, the talks of demonstrating, I know being an unbaptized publisher at the time, I believe it was like 4 or 5 minutes of a talk, or whatever the case being, as far as the length of.
Were you just doing Bible readings at that time, or did you actually get to prepare a talk?
Oh, I actually prepared a talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I
was like, well, anyway, the worst I would be told, even if it was something a brother didn't like, or whatever the case, I still would get commended for presenting a certain way, using hand gestures. That's why I laugh when I see you. That's a witness thing too. A lot of us.
We're taught public speaking. And I mentioned that in my very first video is that I do appreciate growing up as a Jehovah's Witness.
Sales skills.
Well, I don't know. Well, just being able to be comfortable with speaking.
Absolutely.
To people, strangers or whatever, because like we would have to go into neighborhoods and just knock on someone's door in an area that I might not have known is completely new to me. And kind of just go off the wind because they could have a poor response, a good response, and anywhere in between, and you just have to go with the flow. Yes.
That had to be another for a different.
I've had a man chase me off the property, and I'm a young child.
We should give them that for another episode.
What?
Door-to-door experiences.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Because that's the nitty-gritty. That is the main front part of the witnesses. Like that's what it details. The time, the titles.
There's a lot of people that will want to be a Jehovah's Witness, but will back out so quick until they realize they had to go start knocking on people's doors.
Absolutely facts. That's what I'm saying.
There was this one sister I remember sitting next to. She was like, I wanted to be a witness for a very long time, and I could have been one a lot earlier, but the reason why I didn't is because they made it a requirement for me to go and knock on people's doors. And I'm like, why was that such an issue? She's like, I don't have a desire to do that. Like, it's like, that's yeah, like it's nerve-wracking. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I shook very badly when I spoke, like so bad that you couldn't even understand anything I was saying.
Just being nervous, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and thank goodness that at the time, those people who were listening to me at the door, I was with my father, and he kind of just, you know, helped me out there.
Staying there for support.
And like, you know, not everybody's mean. There's a lot of people that open the door, will listen, you know, old, young, male, female, whatever. Okay. And thank goodness in the beginning stages, no one was chasing me out. But not too long after did I get told to get off their property. Yeah. And I was still a child. Like I'm talking like 9 or 10.
My worst experiences was when I was a kid. Everything from dogs chasing me to, like I said, we had to give them a whole. Like, that's too juicy.
Okay. Okay. So no gambling.
No gambling.
Talk about that. Okay. Yeah. And then drinking. Okay. Now Jesus turned water into wine. Let's just start off with that. Now, okay. I posted on my Instagram page after seeing. I think it was on YouTube. Okay. I believe it was John Cedars, as a matter of fact. Where John Cedars had like someone he knew or someone that followed John Cedars and sent him this video of one of the governing body members buying brown liquor. Like it was like
you were telling me
it was
that.
whiskey or Hennessy. What's another? It was brown liquor. Okay, it was very expensive. Yeah, it might have been brandy or something. Yeah. It was brown liquor, and it was very expensive. It was like $75 a bottle.
Yeah, I've probably seen this because I've seen it on YouTube.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. It's out there.
I put a clip. And I was being slick too. I put a clip of, this brother looks very familiar, and you can clearly see he's in the liquor store and he's putting it like bottles after bottles in his cart and wheeling it to the cash register. This is one of the main original governing body members at that. Okay. Now, like I said, Jesus turned water into wine, not hard liquor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now the reason why we have a lot of color issues right now, that originally started based off the information I have researched, okay, was because when Noah, this is after the flood, Noah got drunk and his son Ham found Noah in the cave drunk and naked, okay, and was making fun of his father, and he grabbed his other 2 brothers and said, hey, look at dad acting drunk, looking crazy and naked. The other brother kind of didn't do anything. He just acknowledged it or whatever. Right. And then the other brother, who was to be the person of, you know, lighter skin, fairer skin, was the one, we don't need to be making fun of our father. We need to be respecting our father. Cover him up. Let's help our father. Yeah. Now, it was said in the Bible that Ham's son got cursed because of what Ham did by making fun of his father. So people took that as Ham was described in the Bible as someone as darker colored, and so was his kid too, and all his children. So some people took it as far as, all colored people are bad and wicked because they got cursed.
Wow.
And that's where that started. So it's like, here it is. Yeah, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we're allowed to drink, but we're not allowed to be drunkards, okay? Right. And like I said, Jesus turned water into wine, but not hard liquor. My point to saying that is, you do things in moderation. And, okay, it doesn't say not to drink hard liquor.
But you know, it's so funny. It's just excellent you point that out, because it's just like saying, if you really a person that drinks and enjoys stuff, I have had way more fun times and not been so close to being inebriated or drunk and still being able to handle my day, drinking wine throughout the day. I couldn't drink Hennessy throughout the day.
No.
Even my father was an alcoholic, so for me, all of this stuff is like water. But I still couldn't do that as much as I could with wine. You know what I mean? And to take it a step further, wine on a health aspect, it's like so many things you just touched on a time-wise. Wine is actually healthy for you if you're not
in moderation. Yes.
In moderation.
Yeah.
There's no liquor other than tequila, and that's a whole different story, because that's just agave tequila. But that's literally the only. Everything else is sugar.
Yeah, it is not great. It's not great for your body.
Not at all.
And
so I get it. I get why Jesus. I think Jesus was looking at that, and a lot of you had the foresight to be like.
But if you go to Bethel, after the Gilead,
I wish I would have.
Meetings or whatever, I can't remember all the different things. First of all, I was never a Bethelite, but however, I did have family members that were Bethelites. Okay, and I got to go visit Bethel.
This is a huge thing.
I got to sit and eat at Bethel. Like, I was proud.
This is an MVP.
I was
thing
happy. I was elated. Like,
I was
like, oh yeah. Like, I'm sitting at Bethel. I got to eat with the Bethelites and everything.
Absolutely.
I got to see all the, all before they sold it in New York. I'm not talking about Warwick, the new places. I'm talking about that prime property that they had in New York before they sold it.
Was it millions of dollars of property?
I would not be surprised if that was near $1 billion.
Well, yeah, New York is crazy.
Now, I know there's probably YouTube videos about how much the property was probably got sold for or whatever, what they actually got.
No, I mean, but initially what they probably paid for it and what they
initially because it was in the early 1900s.
Oh yeah.
So what it was worth, what it was worth when they sold it, like I said, was probably near the billions. So my point of saying that is that when that was announced in the Kingdom Hall, like, oh, we sold Bethel in New York, I was devastated. Everybody, I'm like devastated. I'm like, no. I'm thinking like,
why?
Right.
Why?
That, to me, that was holding some of our credibility. That was holding, our stance and status and.
Well, to your point, how we spoke about earlier about contributions and stuff like that, for them to have a property like that and not be passing around
among the elite people, and we're claiming to be God's people, and we had that property among the elite people in a very prominent area.
Right.
I was like, why would we give that up? It was because they needed to sell that property to pay off all these lawsuits. But
bars.
I digress.
Bars.
Okay, we talk about drinking. Yeah. To go back to that. Yep. Like I said, in Bethel, there's times where people get together and they start drinking. And it's not wine, it's hard liquor. And I just feel some type of way about that. And here it is. The governing body members have taken an oath of, I can't say it's poverty, but it's they've taken an oath of living a simple life.
Right.
And here it is, this brother, this governing body member, okay, is buying these bottles of liquor that cost at least $75 a bottle.
And it's probably not his own money either.
No, of course not.
That's
okay, so drinking, gambling, tattoos, piercing, cigarettes. Yeah, so that's a given. Nobody's smoking cigarettes. If you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're getting baptized, you're not smoking cigarettes. You have to quit that habit. That's done out the door.
Right.
It's done away with. Okay. Okay, so the fourth one I wanted to talk about was homosexuality. Okay, so across the board, people know what that says in the Bible for the most part.
Absolutely.
Whether they know exactly what it says in the Bible or not, or just how Christians view that.
I think the main issue that people don't understand is that it's people telling you a certain way versus looking at the issue of just because it may not be considered natural as it states in the Bible doesn't mean that a person that respects that religion shouldn't try to love and embrace you and get you just to see their viewpoint of things. That's you know what I'm saying? Like, even on the witnessing side of things, what I've noticed from what you talked to me about, which is pretty important when you think about it, because again, they're supposed to be these established type of Christians. You don't want to push somebody away from what you believe in. You just kind of want to show them why you have the thinking of it.
Right.
And I think that would change a lot, actually, in the view for people. Because, like I said, at Northwest Congregation in D.C., we had folks coming in left and right. Hell, Prince came in there. And he was, to this day, I don't know if he was always a straight guy. I know that's always been like a joke with him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just had a crazy hair in the style of music.
See, my thing with that, with people's, sexuality and who they choose to love or whatever, that's, I don't know. Someone had to explain it to me, and it's more based off of energy, okay? So whether they're attracted to male or female or whatever, they're saying they're attracted to that person's energy. Okay, so I was like, okay, I resonate with that a little bit. I can kind of get what you're saying with that, but that's how that person feels. I can't judge people's heart contents, only God can. So I'll leave that in that lane. Yeah. Now, in the Jehovah's Witness community, okay, in society, that world, when you're Jehovah's Witness and you say that you're gay or you feel that you're gay, it's the act of doing a homosexual act is when you can get this fellowship for. Right. Now, you can sit up here and say you gay all day and be baptized, but you only get in trouble when you're doing the act of that.
Excellent point.
Okay, so I had a friend. He did not start off gay. I'm not sure what happened. Sometimes I do feel like that can be, you resulting in being gay or whatever, can deal with some trauma. Now I do feel like some people
Absolutely.
are hormonally imbalanced, and I had a huge discussion with that same sister I talked about in the other video. Like I feel some type of way about this, because just like you can be born with a disorder of not having you can be born without an arm, you can be born with leukemia, you can be born with some type of something going on with you. You can also be born with a hormonal imbalance. So you could be born in a female body, but internally your hormones are saying I'm a boy. See what I'm saying? So I have just stumbled across a documentary where this young child was talking about, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This is a young child saying this at a very young age, between the ages of 3 turning into 4. And the mother got very concerned because she always noticed her child gravitating to, more feminine things, girly things. And it wasn't like, of course she's buying boy toys and boy clothes, and so is the dad doing boy type of activities. And then, the child's not really gravitating to it and going to the girl stuff. Now, this child also had a sibling that was another boy. And just like totally not getting like, okay, yeah, my brother's this, but I'm not. There's the parents, I think they got 2 boys.
I think it's a blend of a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, and everybody's situation is different. Everybody's
chemical makeup.
Yeah, and everybody's situation in the LGBT community is different. So I personally definitely feel some type of way, or I like, my heart goes out to those transgender type of individuals, or those people who have those extreme hormonal imbalances. You have to think about it. There's women walking around here feeling like they're a woman, but they're growing hair from out their chin. That is because they have a hormonal imbalance. That is just a scientific thing. So
this is proof that we're imperfect.
Yeah, exactly. So
regardless of what you think you want to be, or whatever the case being, you just got to deal with it, and you should have positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
That's the problem that I think is a better way of simplifying it. Regardless of witnesses or not, if you have positive reinforcement, you'd be surprised if a person might try to change or do or whatever, versus being chastised, made fun of, or blah, blah. So.
Well, I wanted to go back to talk about my friend that I grew up in the congregation with before I moved here in the South. Is that, originally he did not claim to be gay. He was actually very into this one girl that went to our congregation. Okay, well, she ended up liking somebody else, and they ended up getting married or whatever. So it wasn't until some years later, because he even talked about how he was trying to talk to some other girl or whatever. Okay. But it wasn't until years later that he was like, actually I feel like I'm gay. Now, I didn't have super in-depth conversations because he was that embarrassed about it, and I knew how his father was, and I knew that how the congregation would have viewed him and things like that, and he took the Jehovah's Witness faith very seriously. Okay. So he viewed me as bad association, even though he dealt with me accordingly, and then he kind of saw how I was doing this and doing that and living like a double life, and he would deal with me accordingly, even though he felt some type of way about his sexuality. You see what I'm saying? So this was June of 2018. I went to New York. I knew he was living in New York at the time, and I reached out to him, and he was like, Kirby, I can't talk to you because I'm still disfellowship. And I'm like, I don't care. Right. And he's like, yeah, but and I also knew it had something to do with how he felt about me. And even though it had been years I haven't talked to him, he probably through the grapevine or whatever, maybe he still thought I was still the same way or whatever. He just knew that I was a rebellious Jehovah's Witness, and he just didn't want to deal with me like that. But unfortunately, he took his own life, or that's what has been said, that he took his own life because he felt not worthy.
He didn't get support.
He had no support. He ended up getting this fellowship. So, and I don't know exactly what he got this fellowship for because that's supposed to be private. But he ended up getting this fellowship, and he never got reinstated. He hadn't been reinstated for years. So in 2018, he had still been disfellowshipped from when he originally got this fellowship years before. And his family did not allow him to talk to any of his nieces or nephews. And I think
that's just crazy. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I don't. I really don't. Because like I said, even with the certain issues and things that we would deal with in the congregation I grew up in, they just didn't go that hard about that.
Yeah. And no one went to his funeral. I don't say no one went to his funeral. Hardly anyone went to his funeral.
That's horrible.
And it's just, that's sad because he's disfellowshipped. When you're disfellowshipped, you are isolated. So if something unforeseen happens, like death, whether you take your own life or not, you're isolated, even till death.
I was just going to say, where it could be extreme, it's literally like someone stepping out of Scientology. Like, that's how.
Yeah, well, yeah, Scientology is a lot more wild.
Yeah,
but we're not, we're maybe 2 notches down from Scientology, though. Seriously. Because if you're disfellowshipped all the way up until death, and I'm sure there's going to be, you know, some isolated situations where it wasn't that bad because someone died, whether they took their lives or not. But the simple fact is, and that goes on to my last point, is suicide.
Yeah.
Or one of the last points, I want to mention something else. It's suicide. Like before suicide, when I was younger, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, suicide, you do not get forgiven for that. You are not forgiven for, if you commit.
So that's what's interesting. Like I said, it was completely the opposite growing up as far as in the congregation. She's like, what in the world?
It changed.
Okay.
It changed. And I don't know when you caught wind of it, but when I was younger and I found out about suicide, I'm like, oh, if you take your own life, okay. Because Judas took his own life because he betrayed Jesus. Mm-hmm. So he felt so guilty and bad about what he did, you know, and took his own life. But now there's people taking their lives as a Jehovah's Witness. And they're saying that, oh, well, there's mental illness that should be taken account for and things like that. You know, you don't have to be like Judas and take your own life if you betray God or Jesus Christ, his son. But at the same time, it kind of was like, well, now, you know, there's mental health being a thing and we had to take that account. But people were taking their lives because people's parents in the Jehovah's Witness community was putting this amount of pressure on them, okay?
Oh, like I said,
they didn't meet up to those standards. They didn't have the desire to the extent that the congregation wanted them to be, and the parents wanted them to be some type of way, and it was just so much for them, or they didn't want to be a part of it, or they didn't meet up to these certain standards, or they didn't get accepted into Bethel, and they're taking their lives.
Right.
And it's just
it's a serious thing.
Excuse me, my phone. But that's crazy. And before it was like, oh, well, they took their lives so they don't gain everlasting life. I'm telling you, that has happened and been said to people's parents.
Because the only reason I'm like, they're so contradictory even in this thing, you know, scripturally sounding, and this is what I'll say kind of in a situation, because if anything, we probably should make another part or chapter of this, because it's going ham. But anyway. Oh,
God, that's the 38-minute video.
Yeah, exactly. What I will say to this is, you got to think on a scriptural standpoint. If Jesus is to remember the name of everyone in the tomb, I mean, you still have a chance to speak to him and seek him as the person to still have everlasting life. Then suicide is included in that. A person being a murderer included in that. A person losing their mind, whatever the case. Adulterers. I mean, it's one of those things where I think a lot of times it really is based upon folks destroying even this religion per se than the Bible itself, because it's like it doesn't add up when you think about it. It really doesn't. Even from Catholicism, it's like, why would you say that? Like, it mentions in the Bible Judas and Satan are the only people to get the lake of fire. If we're even talking about a situation of being punished, because you know that's the direct response to it. You're gonna go to hell. You're gonna go to hell.
Yeah.
Even with the witnesses not believing in that, but it's also absurd.
Yeah.
Like, why would something that's built of love constantly keep you alive to re-roasting you? I digress, but
yeah. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to mention was kind of like a strange thing is that, okay, being a Jehovah's Witness, especially with having being baptized, whether you're minister, servant, or elder or not, facial hair for men.
Yeah.
None
of this is cool.
Yeah, that's not okay.
This is cool. I gotta.
Even though.
Now the interesting is the stash. They let a stash slide, but it can't come down. I think it's like it can't come past.
Yeah,
it can't
you're right.
Connect. You can have, like, my stepfather right now. He's an elder. He has a little baby stash. He has a little Hitler stash. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can have. Yeah, I forgot. You can't have a mustache.
Right.
But all of this, all of that,
Oh, absolutely not.
you have to be clean shaven.
Mm-hmm.
And
regardless if you have sensitive skin and you break out like I was doing every freaking time I had to shave. Every time.
Yeah. You're not. Yeah, no
another
facial
anxiety.
hair.
I appreciate y'all, the real ones, especially for Kirby, that have stayed on this video. You know what it is. We out here trying to entertain you about this and show you that it's not as crazy, and there's some things that are just crazy. And again, from different areas.
It's the good, bad, and the ugly.
It's the good, bad, and ugly. Non-biased.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I appreciate you. I know she appreciates you. I appreciate you letting me be in your video.
Yeah.
You know, shine.
It worked. It really worked. I liked it.
Ryan,
Great.
next
Okay. Till next time.